Okay, so here's a quick review for what we talked about for the mini test on Wednesday the 29th. First off, association and correlation. They mean the same thing. Make sure you know the difference between a positive association, positive correlation, negative association, or negative correlation, or having no association or no correlation. Remember that having an association, positive or negative, does not mean it's cause and effect. We talked about sun shining and hair growing. One doesn't affect the other, but height and your ability to grab rebounds might have a cause and effect. So know those differences, know those terms. Okay, and seeing what a positive correlation looks like versus a negative correlation and no correlation. When you have a positive correlation, you can see that as one's increasing, the other one decreases. Having no correlation, negative correlation, as one's increasing, the other's decreasing. For instance, the temperature is getting warmer outside and snowboard sales are decreasing. And then finally, no correlation means that you cannot predict your data. They're not showing in either a positive or a negative way. It's scattered across your grid. No correlation would also mean it's non-linear. It's not graphing as a line, so you can't make a prediction based off of your graph. There is no discernible pattern of positive or negative. It's so random that there's no prediction available. Remember, when drawing your trend line, you want that line to go through at least 2 data points and to try to keep your data evenly spaced on both sides of your trend line and keeping the data, if possible, close to the line itself. Remember, it's not connect the dots. You want it to be one straight line through your data points. And then you can look using that trend line for groupings, clusters, and any outliers. For instance, this one here I would consider an outlier because it's not falling very closely to my trend line. We talked about two-way tables today as a way to explain 2 types of data, and the example we used were students in class, boys versus girls, and those who ride the bus and those who walk. So out of 20 total students surveyed, that would be my 20, where that came from. We want to start with the total amount being surveyed or found. That's going to go in my total category, and then I can work my way backwards by finding data that I know. So if I tell you that there are 5 boys who walk to school, and total students who ride the bus are 15. Well, I can start to fill in some holes from the information just with those pieces of data. I can see that if I look at, I have 20 total and 15 total, 20 minus 15 would leave me with 5, and I can fill in another hole in my data. With those 2 holes filled, I know this is now a total. This data point here would just be 5 minus the boys that I knew for walking would leave me with 0. So that means I would have no girls who are walking. And then if I know that I have 10 boys who rode the bus to school, from there 10 and 5 will give me 15 total boys in class. From that, 15 taken away from the 20 leaves me with the 5 total girls, and my last hole can be found by finding what was the difference between the data I knew from the total, which would be 5. Again, check all of your totals to make sure they add up. This should be the total of the 2 above. This should be the total of the 2 above. This should be the total of the 2 above it. These should total up to your 20. These should total up to your 20. Now, using my data from the two-way table, I can find the frequency that events occur. Remember, frequency is equal to percent, and that would be my part out of my whole. So if I were to ask you, what were the frequency of boys who ride the bus, I would need to know, first off, how many boys ride the bus. I'd find that data here. And then how many total boys I'm working with. So the frequency of boys who ride the bus, or the percent of boys who are riding the bus. I have 10 boys who ride the bus out of 15 boys total. 10 divided by 15 will leave me with my 0.6 6 repeating, or about 67%. I can find the frequency of any of my data, such as the frequency of students who walk to school. I would look at my total number of walkers divided by my total number of students. So I would use 5 over 20 and divide that out to get 0.25, which would be 25%. Finally, on your mini test tomorrow, you're going to be asked to create a scatter plot. And from that scatter plot, tell the type of association, drawing your trend line, and being able to interpolate or extrapolate. With your data. Remember, interpolate means you can look inside your data. Extrapolate means you're going to look outside or exiting your data. You will do fine on your test as long as you answer all parts of your questions. If it asks you to explain, please make sure you're explaining and you're not just answering the first part and moving on, because though there are only 11 questions, they are involving you to explain yourself at multiple points. Good luck and hope you study.